Yes, everybody. Good evening. Steve Wellings here. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully somebody turns up and it's not just me on my own. Just decided to do this impromptu live on a Friday evening because I've been meaning to do this for a while. And there's no time like the present. Let's get back stuck onto the asylum, help out the boys. Rapping Rob Kelly's in the hot seat now. Matty's there, Des is there, Justin's there. Things are flying. Wellington's been meaning to come back to help out the boys. And I was on my own tonight and I thought to myself, you know what? Why not just get stuck in? Do a live, no messing about, straight back into the hot seat. It's been an emotional day, hasn't it, really? You can see on the screen there. Hopefully Sky lets get away with this one. Decided to put a bit of a Ricky Hatton. Yes, Danny Young, shout out. How you doing, sir? I trust you can hear me okay. Just stuck a bit of Ricky on in the background there. I've chosen the Mike Stewart fight. It's going back in time now, this one. 2004, 1st of October 2004. So it's around this kind of time. Obviously, it's been his birthday recently. 21 years ago, fought Michael Stewart in the MEN Arena, Manchester. IBF light welterweight title eliminator. WBU title was on the line. Mike Stewart coming over from America. I just thought I'll dig that out. Stick it on. Lovely. Thank you, Danny. Stick it on in the background there. Hopefully everybody can see it okay. StreamYard says my connection is unstable, but I'll tell you what, if it's unstable, I'm knocking on the fibrous broadband doors on Monday morning because I pay a frigging lot of money for this. Well, it's like £60 a month. Is that expensive for broadband these days? I don't know, but it seems expensive to me. So if it's not working properly, if my connection is unstable, I may be mentally unstable, but if the connection is unstable, then that's a bad sign. But it seems to be all right to me. Danny can hear me. Everything's okay on the screen. So yeah, not expecting anybody else to come on. As I said, I just did this off the cuff. Patreon subscribers will know that I do these Wellington ways in quite regularly, usually from my car. Very unprofessional. But tonight I thought to myself, you know what? Why not just go live? Because as I said at the start, I've been meaning to do this for a while, and there's no time like the present. Sometimes you just got to turn the mic on, set things up, and just get stuck in. Danny, you have absolutely just said exactly what I was going to say. My first talking point for all the jokes we give Adam Smith. He did a lovely job at the service today. 100% could not agree with that more. That's in my back of the fag packing notes here. Bean, I'm a critic of Bean, as you'll know. His commentary drives me mad. He's tormented me for years, but I've seen the eulogy like everybody else, and I thought Bean did an outstanding job. Like he was, it's not easy as well, given the context of the whole thing and so many people there and the emotions and a who's who of British boxing. And Bean, fair play to him. He did the right amount of talking today. It was a lovely eulogy, lovely speech from Bean. So cannot fault him at all. He did a great job. And the turnout for Hatton was as expected. I haven't seen all of it because I was like working, just seeing bits and pieces, but saw some of the faces. I saw Smigger was there hanging around. I don't know if Billy Graham was there. I think the boys were saying that earlier. You can let me know in the chat if the chat starts to populate who you saw and you're throwing your memories of Hatton if you want to. Look, this is impromptu. This is like sitting around on the bar stools here on a Friday night. You let me know what you want to talk about. I have a little itinerary. I'll go for about an hour or so and then have to start doing the Friday evening pickups, but we'll let the fight play out there. Spoiler alert, I think it went for about 6 rounds, but I'm just going to talk shit, to be honest, and then sort of circle back towards Ricky Hatton as well. But shout out to Danny's in the chat. There's 8 altogether. Hopefully, if this goes well, and goes well means I manage to make it to the end of the hour and I don't get sick of my own voice, and you guys don't get sick of me, I'll maybe do these things more often, more regular. And if anybody wants to jump on tonight, let me know. I'll throw the StreamYard chat in and you can join me if you wish. Yeah, so there's plenty going on at the moment in boxing, but not really a lot of positive stuff. I mean, we're just hearing about pullouts and that. Obviously, tonight you probably heard about Fundora. I was just scribbling up an article there quickly at 8 o'clock tonight for Boxing News website about Sebastian Fundora pulling out. If anybody was going to pull out of that fight, I thought it was going to be Keith Thurman, as Gabe, the long lost late Gabe used to say. But as it turns out, it's Fundora, and that just seems to be kind of like the PBC way at the moment. Is that fight ever going to happen? I don't know. Do we even want to see it happen? Fundora, for me, is the number one 154-pound fighter. I know he was unified champion. He's only got the one title now, but we need to see him stepping up. And I was kind of like hoping he would get Thurman out the way, beat the shit out of him, and then move on. But now that's going to be pushed back to January 2026, February 2026, something like that. Samson Levkovich is saying. So who even knows? Danny Young says, question for you, Steve. If you haven't already had this, what's your favourite Hatton fight outside of the famous ones? Thinking more early on in his career. That's the way I'm sort of wired, Danny. That's a good question again, because I kind of gravitate towards these kind of questions. And the first memory, actually, I'll go off on tangents like I always do. The first memory I have of Ricky Hatton sort of coming into my consciousness, I hadn't been a hardcore boxing fan for long, but it was 2001, March 2001. I was in the car with my dad for some reason, didn't know where we were going, what we were doing. And on BBC Radio, they were talking that night about a fight that had took place in Wembley between a young up-and-coming kid, Ricky Hatton, and a Canadian guy called Tony Pep, who also fought Mayweather before or after, probably before, I think it was. And they were saying what a prospect Hatton was. He got rid of Pep in the 4th round by knockout. He won the vacant WBU title that he would go on to defend about 14, 15 times. So that's the first time he came onto my radar. And then I started watching on the video cassettes, going back on his fights. The John Thaxton fight was actually before that. And that was the night that he won the British title, got the really bad cut. Was it Mick Williamson, Kerry Kayes? Was it Mick Williamson got him through that? One of the cuts men got him through that. And that was a real turning point for Hatton. Then he got rid of Pep, and then he sort of went on that WBU run. Freddie Pendleton rolling around on the floor from the body shot. He was just a real body puncher. And then I started watching him live from, I think it was Justin Rousseau, Mikhail Krivolapov time. Eamon McGee fight as well, Danny. Great one there when he got knocked down, really faced adversity. I tell you what, if Eamon had been in shape and not guzzling Guinnesses the night before, then he could have done something, because he really pushed Ricky hard in that one. Not only did he knock him down, but he fought hard. He was a tough man, McGee, but he was a skilled man as well. He was a good amateur, and that one sticks out to me. But I think the one that I will mention before we sort of got into that run towards the world title was the Stephen Smith fight in 2002. Manchester again. It was just a bizarre fight. Stephen Smith, off the top of my head, I think he was like a blown up lightweight. He'd sort of been brought up, which was a criticism earlier on Frank Warren of Hatton's career, that they said that they sort of brought lightweights and super featherweights up and stuff. I see Mike Stewart going down there on the video. I know he got dropped in round 1. Anyway, Hatton's fighting Stephen Smith. Darky Smith, who was Stephen's dad and trainer. He was a tough man. I think he was a traveller. He was a hard guy, and he was moaning before about Smith's previous fight that he'd lost. I think it says he was box rec, he was 31-1. He'd maybe lost to, was it Bobby Vanzi or somebody like that? And he said his balls were black and blue from the amount of low blows. So Darky was sort of getting in there that there was a bit of foul play going on that night. Anyway, they were talking about Ricky's elbows, which you can see in the Stewart fight as well. Sometimes he would have sort of leant in, wouldn't he, and pushed guys to the side with those elbows. And he was doing that a bit in the Smith fight. And it says here, Smith down twice. Smith disqualified after his father trainer, Darky Smith, ran into the ring to protest a cut caused by an apparent elbow. And I remember us watching that at the time, and it was crazy. He got in, pushed the referee, Mickey Vann, who was the referee for a lot of Ricky's fights. And Ricky disqualified Stephen Smith. Smith was trying to get him out the ring. He was going mad at his dad. I think he was maybe cut as well from the elbows. And then afterwards, they went into the changing room and interviewed Darky, and he says, if I'd have really properly hit Mickey Vann, the pipe cleaner would have bent, was his explanation. I'm just watching on the screen here, actually. Yeah, see, that was a cracking left hook to the body, wasn't it, there? Just rewatching this. This is great for the audio listeners if I stick this on the Spotify later. See the way he comes to the side? Lovely little body shot there. Stewart was a hard man, actually. I think Hatton was the only person to stop him in all of his losses. Oh, there you are. He was down twice. There was a right hand, stuck him down as well. And he managed to last after that. Danny says, mine was the Thaxton one, just as the British title meant something then, and he had to survive that cut, yeah. British title did mean something. Although not to Sky, because around that sort of era, Hatton very much bought in the WBU era for Sky. They started showing a lot of those fights and a lot of IBO fights as well. There was a real good grouping of light middleweights, as they were called, super welterweights, as we would call them now, who were holding IBO titles. You had guys like Steve Roberts. There were so many, I can't remember the names. Paul Samuels, Wayne Alexander, Takalu, Anthony Farnell. Who else? Jamie Moore sort of come a bit later. Delroy Facey. There's other ones, I can't remember the names now. But the point I'm making, you guys know what I'm like, man. I go off on these stupid tangents all the time. They sort of bought in the era of the IBO and WBU titles in response to Danny's point there. Before that, it was kind of Commonwealth, British, and then afterwards, Sky went through a phase about 3 or 4 years later when they said we don't want these WBU titles anymore, because the WBU title, it ended up in controversy afterwards because they split and there was two sort of entities claiming it. There was a German entity and there was your man John Robinson, who was a big, massive, obese guy who used to fly around ringside in his big burgundy shirt, similar to Dave Paris on the screen there, in his wheelchair. And he ran it out of a shed in like Oxford or something like that. So the WBU, and that's why it says on BoxRec 1995 to 2004. Yeah, so back to the point. Stephen Smith, Joe Hutchinson. By that point, they were really getting towards Ricky. There was frustration, I think. They got the Vince Phillips fight, which was a good fight for Ricky because Phillips was still carrying the currency from having beaten Costa Zhu. So that was a good win for Ricky, and he was really disciplined that night. And we knew Phillips was a puncher, even though he was a veteran by that point, and he was savvy. And Ricky won majority of the rounds. Well, I mean, all of the rounds on one of the cards against Phillips. So that was a good breakthrough win. And then he beat Aldo Rios, who was a decent fighter, actually. Ricky beat him. Rios went on to beat Jason Cook. They brought him back onto Sky. And to show that he was a good fighter, Ricky battered him. Ben Taki was the next one. Again, very disciplined performance. Taki was tough. He was limited. He was flat-footed and physically limited. But he was a stepping stone into world class. Again, he had fought Siu beforehand as well, and Siu had absolutely outboxed him. So Ricky did the same. So you could see those common comparisons being made between the two of them. Dennis Holbeck Pedersen was a European level fighter. He came in short notice for Kelson Pinto. Around that time, it was the sort of Ricky and Junior Witter rivalry was really starting to build up. Junior beat a guy called Jürgen Hath on one of the cards. Was it that one? I'm trying to look down it now. No, it wasn't that one. It may be one of the pay-per-view fights. Sean Bay Mitchell fought Michael Stewart on the Hatton Pedersen undercard. Sean Bay Mitchell was the guy who was floating about as well, fought you twice. Carlos Vilches. Carlos Vilches was I'm doing all this off the top of my head, but Carlos Vilches was a lackluster performance from Hatton, and they were getting frustrated because if you watch the commentary and the analysis and the punditry before this Michael Stewart fight, which you can see on the screen now, they were talking about frustration. Hatton was starting to get annoyed that he wasn't getting a world title shot, and he felt like he was getting closer. This was an IBF eliminator for Siu, who was injury prone at this point as well. Siu, from his fight before Mitchell to the Mitchell fight, was a really long time. There was talk of it being in Russia at one point. And Hatton was getting frustrated. And there was talk of him maybe fighting Cotto for the WBO. Bob Arum was saying that was a possibility. Would he go the IBF route? And there was a lot of pressure building on Frank Warren to get him that chance if he could get past these next few guys. And he got past Stewart brilliantly. And then they put him in again a couple of months later after this one against Ray Oliveira. And he beat him up as well. So they're the early ones. Let's have a look in the chat here. I don't know if I answered your question there. Apologies, Danny. You know what I'm like. Early Hatton days before I really got into boxing, but the Hatton run in America coincided with the start of it for me. The HBO 24/7s, the big press tours, Floyd, Manny, Paulie, Castillo, great days. Absolutely, yeah. You can just remember those moments. The night he beat Siu, I think it was at like 3 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it? Stayed up for that one. And then I remember the one in Sheffield when he beat Carlos Mousa, who had upset Vivian Harris for the WBA title, sorry. And then they unified. And then I think it was the Castillo fight, really, wasn't it? That put the rubber stamp on Hatton fighting Mayweather. It was at that point, because of the two fights Castillo had with Mayweather. It was on Satanto Sports, if you remember, when he hit him with that body shot. And that was the real crossover kind of moment where the Americans said, yeah, this guy is a a legitimate threat and a legitimate opponent for Mayweather, and I think that really rubber stamped it there. And then the night he fought Floyd, we've done that on Punches from the Past. You can go back and listen to that and maybe try and dig it out. Yeah, I still remember that night. I'd been to Duddy Eastman in the King's Hall. And then afterwards we went to the Balmoral Hotel, which is in West Belfast, for those who know. Danny Flexen was on the scene for Boxing News. I was covering it for BritishBoxing.net, which is now no longer with us. And we stayed up into the middle of the night. Robert McCracken was there. It was a really good atmosphere, and Ricky did well. There's obviously, there's no point in really getting into it, but the Joe Cortez thing and all, you've all seen it, you all know the score, but it was just a breakthrough moment, wasn't it, with the fans going over. One Ricky Hatton, Mayweather with the Man United shirt on. All these random, fractured memories are coming back to me. Do you remember Hatton was like stand-up, like a Bernard Manning stand-up show, wasn't it? Like slagging him on the stage. And then the Sky were having to put the "we're sorry for the language" thing underneath and all. It was just the opposite worlds collide, really. Thomas Newman says he had ref the Sean Bay Mitchell versus Mike Stewart fight and said there is no way he will be able to hold him off. Oh, yeah, sorry. That's in relation to Thomas's first point, which I should have read out first, actually. Sorry, Thomas. I was at that Mike Stewart fight. There you go. See if we can see you in the crowd. Remember speaking to the ref, Dave Paris, in the hotel bar after that fight, as Hatton was due to fight Sean Bay Mitchell after. There you go. And he said Hatton will crush Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell was a good fighter. But yeah, at that time, like Hatton said with the Costa Zoo fight, he would have walked through walls, wouldn't he? Danny Young says, not to sound like an old git, but modern boxers just don't have that personality or likability anymore. I can't think of another British boxer that has had the same appeal that Hatton did and had. Well, the thing was with Ricky as well, it was like, I think it was very natural, wasn't it? He was like an everyman, but that was just who he was. People come and go in boxing, and a lot of the time their personality shines through like it did with Hatton, but other time it seems very contrived, and they're trying to be people that they're not. Like, I don't really want to dig anybody out, but I mean, that's what we do, isn't it? Here, that, we say what we think, and you look at guys like Ben Whittaker, and I'm not juxtaposing him against Hatton, that's not what I'm doing here, but just thinking of him, for example, like he's trying to create a kind of personality for himself, which you have to do in boxing. You have to be interesting. You have to divide people, otherwise nobody's going to listen. If everybody liked Wellings, we wouldn't be here. Like, you know what I mean? You got to have the trolls too, but it doesn't feel natural. But I think with guys like Hatton, which is probably what Danny's saying, it kind of had a natural feel about it. You could sort of see him literally, I suppose, in the pub and like being your pal and chatting away. And it's hard not to change, when that fame gets to you and all, and to sort of stick to your principles and that. And maybe I'm overthinking it. Danny says, given that Hatton could easily be in the top 5 British and Irish body punchers, who else would you put in that category? Oh, let me think. Body punchers. Dillian White. You know me, Danny, man. I'm terrible at these things coming off the top of my head. I have to have a bit to think about that. If anybody else has any they want to throw in, I feel like I should have some coming to mind, but I don't. Mitchell remind me of Chris Bird, said Andrew Mader. Yep, that's fair. Matthew Kemp says much harder to crack the mainstream these days. I think there's no universal national culture in the age of social media, curated feeds, etc. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I would put sometimes video clips up on this days on LinkedIn and stuff, because it seems to have quite a receptive, good boxing audience, actually, funnily enough, which I never expected. But I put one up today or yesterday, it might have been yesterday, actually, I can't remember, that it was the anniversary of Nigel Benn versus Eubank 2 in Manchester. And those guys, they captured the public imagination. There was like so many people watching it, but it like crossed over to the general public. People knew them. It was in the newspapers, and 16.5 million people watched it on ITV. And you can just capture that, I think, can't you, with BBC? That's what they tried to do with Audley Harrison, but he absolutely took them for a ride. And I was talking to somebody the other day about Shalom going on to BBC. And I don't know, if he doesn't overthink it and just puts like 8 lumps in a kind of prize fighter thing, a couple of characters, a couple of guys with a backstory, and sticks it on like before match of the day or just after match of the day, something like that, probably before, you could see how you could get people invested and get people back in there. And it was a tough time even with Sky to get the eyeballs and the interest. And that was with the machine, Eddie linked up with Sky Sports News, and they had that machine rolling, but it still wasn't the ITV kind of BBC thing. And now you've gone a further step along to DAZN. And I mean, I was talking to my wife's uncle the other day about DAZN, and he'd asked me about it, said it had popped up on his Fire Stick, and he couldn't even pronounce it. He was like, what's that DAZN or whatever? And like, it's just I feel like we're getting further away, like another barrier. No, the people who are watching these kind of fights aren't just going to be watching the likes of DAZN, are they? I mean, that's the PBC, I suppose, have got that. They still know the kind of audience that are going to be pressing the red button to order, the way I was back in Danny Williams, Mike Tyson, having to ring up the next morning with my credit card to pay a tenner to Satanta, to whoever it was, maybe it was Sky, to watch it. But there seems to be those barriers, and it's in a tough place, isn't it, at the moment, British boxing? It is in a tough place. There's Wellington on a Friday night sitting talking to himself. That's the kind of levels that it's sunk to. And you've got Dave Allen tomorrow night against Makhmudov headlining. Danny Young says Shalom could do no worse than doing a low-key version of the Boxing Super Series during his contract with the BBC and get people involved in the backstory and have it played out over a year. Yeah. Mick tried that, didn't he, with Channel 5, do you remember? And he ended up with that, what was that mad fight that was really good? Was it Matty Clarkson against, was it Dickinson? Travis Dickinson? John Lewis Dickinson? One of them, something like that. But I think that's all they want, isn't it? That's all that those type of people want, man. You could imagine, like, do you remember the first prize fighter in 2009? And they were shit, weren't they? Some of them guys, and that Alex Ibbs, and was Chris Burton in it? David, what was that guy called? David something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And then you had Rogaine. He was like a breath of fresh air, wasn't he? He was like a character, and we followed him from the beginning to the end. And that kind of format, man, I think that would be for the BBC. That's what people coming in, like from the football, and they've had a couple of beers and they're sitting on the couch about to pass out, and you just stick some lumps with a bit of character about them, scrapping it out. I think that's all that those people want. Thomas Newman says, I remember boxing when it was on the BBC and the coverage was poor. John Inverdale hosting Audley Harrison fights. Sometimes they had marvellous Marvin Hagler in the studio with Duke McKenzie. On the first Audley one, I seem to remember, did they have Harry Carpenter and Nigel Benn? Something like that, with Inverdale. Because it wasn't just Audley, was it? They had Mick was promoting, because he had the likes of Howard Eastman. Mick sort of knew the audience, really, because he put on them British titles. Howard Eastman going about the place against Scott Down in Plymouth. I remember that was a good one. He fought that guy Larry something, the Canadian. He fought Tatavosian. I thought he might have lost that one, actually. Who Carl Froch went on to batter. But Mick knew how to... David Walker against Roman Karmazin. And then you had Fight Academy as well at the same time, didn't you, with David Hay Thompson. You had Clinton Woods against Rico Hoy, was on BBC. Sebastian Rothman, the famous Carl Thompson fight when Thompson came back and knocked him out. There's another one that sprung to mind there and it's disappeared again. You had the likes of Roman Greenberg and all that. So the BBC were invested, but Audley took them for a ride, didn't they? Danny Young says some of the Channel 5 scraps were great. Again, that was Mick. You wonder what Mick does, man. What does he do to lose these contracts? I mean, there's the Hatton fight over. That's Stewart out the way. I don't know. Nick says, worked on them series of Channel 5 boxing events down in Bluewater when Eubank Jr. was often on the undercards. That was part of some Maxi Muscle tournament. Matty Clarkson versus Travis Dickinson. There you go. Because Mick come over to Belfast at that time as well, Nick, if you remember. You had Lee Squirrel. Do you know Lee Squirrel? I bet you do. He was doing the promoting, and then Fury came over here and he fought Nikolai Firther. He fought Kevin Johnson. which is one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Fought Big Rogie for the Irish title. And because I remember around that time, he went back over for a fight in between in Manchester against Nevin Pajkic. Do you remember that guy who put him down? And I remember a couple of the Irish journalists went over because Fury was kind of pitching himself as Irish at the time. He was going on about Gaelic football and all, and he hadn't got a clue. He was trying. He was wearing like an Antrim shirt and that at the press conferences. They were trying to pitch him as like the next Irish heavyweight. And I remember Kev Byrne and Kieran Gallagher went over to Manchester for the Pajkic fight. And at the press conference, Fury was doing his rounds, and then Mick calls Tyson over and goes, "Oh, Tyson, look, the Irish boys have come over for the fight." And Tyson goes, "That's great, Mick. Can I go home now?" I remember Kev standing there like, what was the point in coming over here? Like, but anyway, yeah, Mick used to hit the bullfires hard. Like, he's a good guy, Mick. He's a good guy. And I remember at one of the press conferences, I think it was after he fought Rogie, and we were down in the bowels of the Odyssey, and Peter Fury was training Fury, and he was going mad because John Breen was in. Oh, it's Kevin Johnson fight. John Breen was in Kevin Johnson's corner, and he was shouting out all these instructions to go for him, knock his head off and all. And Peter Fury saw this as a sign of disrespect, even though Breen was the head trainer in Johnson's corner. A bit bizarre. But at the time, there was the talk of David Price against Tyson Fury. And I remember confronting Mick because he'd dropped the British title, Fury, I think, rather than fight Price. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Fury was chinny and Price would beat him. I did think that. And I remember confronting Mick at the press conference and saying, like, why is he dropped the title? You know, what's he doing? I did think Price would win, but obviously hindsight turns out that was a terrible pick. But I mean, not my worst one. Danny Young, yeah, Sam Eggington versus Bilal Jikitu was great value. Also got that iconic Fury Bellew rant during one of them gigs. That's right. I always remember Fury fighting some mad kilt-wearing German in those early days. Oh, yeah. Was that the Highlander? He called himself the Highlander, didn't he? I remember him fighting Vinny Maddalone. Was that one of the Blue Water ones? Could have been. I didn't rate Fury either back then, says Matthew Kemp. Price might have beaten him before he got beat by Thompson. Yeah, MB, there you go. Vinny Maddalone, do you remember him? I remember watching, I was staying up late for one fight one night, and Vinny Maddalone was being pushed as a prospect. He was fighting a blown-up cruiserweight called Al Cole, and he just completely blew a gasket, Maddalone, and it became very apparent that he was crap. And then he fought Fury a couple of years later. Whenever Fury fought Kevin Johnson, that was an interesting press week, actually, because Jeff Mayweather was in Johnson's corner, and I remember asking him about what he thought about Fury, and he wasn't impressed at all. He just says, I just think he's a big dude. That's all he is, big dude. That was a horrific fight. Some guy stripped off down to his underpants and tried to jump in the ring between one of the fights. And Rogie's... No, that's Rogie. That was a Rogie fight, maybe. I got them all muddled up in my dementia-ridden brain here. But I remember asking Kevin Johnson about the Klitschko fight and what it was like to fight Klitschko. And I remember him telling me that Klitschko was just so awkward. Considering how big he was really awkward to fight because he kept leaning back and you just couldn't get to him. He was like quite surprisingly athletic, which I thought was interesting. I like little nuggets like that. Yeah, so talking to big guys, just to quickly wrap up the other bits and pieces. So Fundora's pulled out against Thurman. That fight's off altogether. O'Shaki Foster, Stephen Fulton's been rearranged. PBCs and the death throes, isn't it, really? What else is going on? Beterbiev's pulled out, I think, against Dion Nicholson, which is a bad sign. That's another pull-out for Beterbiev. He's getting that bit older. Will we see the third Bivol fight? Beterbiev might retire, actually. I could see him retiring, you know, saying that he's had enough and his body can't cope. That might be a bit outlandish. I haven't really thought it through. There's Bean on the telly there now. Yeah, shout out to Bean. He did a good job today. That's a nice image there, isn't it, the two of them? Bean wrote his book, I think, didn't he? What else have we got? Yeah, Dave Allen tomorrow night against Matt Mudov. Just gonna have a drink. Is there anything you want me to talk about? Let me know. I'll probably go for an hour or so. Yeah, I think Matt Mudov's going to mollo Alan. I honestly do. And I have nothing against Dave Allen. Or maybe I do. I think it was Jordan who was saying in the chat, I'm an Allen hater. I don't remember being an Allen hater, but I'm not going to deny it, to be honest. Not going to deny it. I could well be. I've said a lot of shit over the years, and that could be that could be true. I know Ozzy, he used to go mad, didn't he, about Dave? But yeah, I don't know. I don't really rate that big lump Makhmudov, but I just think if you look at the levels, you'd say Makhmudov's like, is he a level above Allen? Is that fair to say? Because Allen, like, he beat Fisher, but he'd been on the couch for a long time before that. We know Fisher's limitations. Makhmudov is shit, but he has a win over Takam, who then went on to beat Yoka. So it's a decent version of Takam. Yeah, MB, I fancy Allen, more seasoned than Wiley. I think that's what they're expecting. I was saying this the other day. Everybody's pretending like Makhmudov's the beast, and I'm talking everybody promotionally, and Allen, he's going to outlast him and knock him out, and it's going to be a big surprise. But I don't know, I just think that Makhmudov could just come out firing, and for all of his limitations, he is strong, isn't he? And he can punch. And I tell you what, if Allen wins, fair play to him, because he's going to take some punishment doing it. It's not going to be good for the old brain cells, I don't think. There's a question mark next to you for some reason, MB. I don't know why that is. But Turbiev got an injury record like Darren Anderton. Yeah. He does like a pull out, doesn't he? That Royston Barney Smith's like that. He's always pulling out of fights. Yeah, let me know in the chat if you agree with MB. Wouldn't be surprised. If Dave wins, fair play to him. Fair play to him. But do you remember when they were building him up to beat Price, and then they were going to get him a Povetkin fight, and Price just boxed his ears off? Price could punch for all of his limitations. And the same with Makhmudov. Yeah, I think Makhmudov might knock him out in about 4 or 5 rounds. Just think the fight's all wrong for him, but yeah. There's Frank looking youthful. Looks like the sun, doesn't he, on that image there? Looks like the young. He looks like Francis or the George. He looks like George. What else have we got on that card? Padley against Bellotti. Bellotti, they're putting him in a lot of hard fights. I like him actually. He's a good fighter. I think Padley will win that, but that'll not be easy. Bellotti's wear and tear might catch up on him. If that was a fresher Bellotti, I think that I would give him a chance of beating Padley. Bostan against Fawaz. Fawaz looks like a woman. I didn't recognise him in the photo. What else have we got? Bostan. Bostan was being touted as one of the big prospects of Matchroom, but I mean, in years gone by, he wouldn't have been anywhere near, would he? He does look good and flashy. I think he underestimated that Fawaz in the first fight. I think he'll win handy in the second one on points. I can see Alan causing the big fella an issue if he gets on his chest. I don't care either way, but the big dude could get frustrated. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I could see different outcomes. I could see, but I just think, if he catches Dave's had a lot of wear and tear. That's the end of the stream up there. We'll get rid of that. Stop screen. There we go. Makhmudov is a guy to start slow against. That's the thing. Makhmudov, for all his deficiencies, he comes out fast, doesn't he? And Caballel, he was skilled. Like he jabbed, he moved, he hit him to the body. He's a skilled boxer. Who was the other person who beat Makhmudov? Vianello beat him. He's a boxer as well, isn't he? That's the thing. It's boxers. Are they the two that have beaten him? He's only lost twice. Yeah, they've sort of outboxed him. No, Caballel knockout was only round 4. Flip, I thought it went later than that, Yeah, if Dave lands that right hand, you could see him going. But I think guys with good jabs and a bit of movement frustrate him and then just break him down. He doesn't like it. But I don't know whether Alan's that guy. I don't know. If he can get on his chest and frustrate him, yes. But I'm not sure. He got a win. he knocks out these unbeaten guys. Yeah, Takam, that was 2022 when he beat Takam. 10 rounds he went, dropped him twice, and he went the distance. That's interesting. Yeah, I fancy Makhmudov, I do. He beat Samuel Peter? Bloody hell. Johnny Rice? He knocked out Johnny Rice? Yeah, I think he's fought more seasoned guys, Makhmudov. KBL killed him to the body, but did it gradually. I love a heavyweight body puncher. I do like a heavyweight body puncher. What? KBL's feet were too fast for Makhmudov. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And Vianello's not really that sprightly, but he's sprightly enough, isn't he, with his style? Like, he's able to move and jab, give him angles. Allen doesn't really do that, does he? Boston will get dropped by Matchroom if he loses, in my opinion. Yeah, probably. Although, who else are they? What else are they going to do? Who have they got? What fights are you looking forward to? Want to see before the year is up? As I think it's been a pretty poor year. It has. The sport is struggling, isn't it? The sport is struggling. Everybody's waiting for Turkey for the big paydays to get on those cards, and they are good cards. You know, you can't deny that, but it's killed the UK scene. Like we were saying that the other day, with the Atoma Dillian White fight, no matter what you think of White and the condition he came in, that would have been a London show, wouldn't it? That people know Dillian White from previous, that Atoma's the next big thing. They could have really sold the shit out of that man, and then he could have knocked him out in front of like 15,000 or whatever screaming fans and really created that kind of crossover. I think they putting it in that flipping morgue didn't do any favours at all. Stephen Smith says I'm going the scary Russian. Yep. Apparently, AJ reached out to Makhmudov and said he's next if he beats Allen. Bloody hell. AJ might get that Nigeria fight, I think. Amir Khan seems like he's positioned himself for that, doesn't he? Going to Ghana and then Nigeria. And then, like I said the other day, it's going to be mash up in Mali, bust up in Benin, shambles in Somalia, tear up in Togo. Amir's going to be there ready to promote the AJ fight whenever it comes. I saw Manny Pacquiao's doing a thriller in Manila too. He's got Nico Ali Walsh on the card. Did you see that? The IBA Pro in association with Umar Kremlov. That come through the press release the other day. Bloody hell. Not as many Saudi cards now, though, says Matthew Kemp, and they aren't as packed with big fights when they do come around. Yep, that's the thing. Beat down in Bali. We're going off the continent, but yes, that does work. Another Matchroom versus Queensby wouldn't be bad, says Danny. I enjoyed those. Yeah, something like that is of interest. How many fights is Dave Allen from AJ? Well, that's what I'm saying. He was getting closer, wasn't he? That run he went on. And then they put him in with David Price, and he was supposed to win that and then go and fight Povetkin. And Price gave him a beatdown in Bali. So how many fights is he away from AJ now? Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I honestly wouldn't. Who were they talking about Dillian White fighting? They're talking about Dillian White fighting somebody the other day. Was it the Chisora third fight, I think, in December? Was there not talk of a Japan versus the world card or Japan versus USA? Yes, there was actually. Was that, am I getting this wrong? Was that, let me just check this out. Andy Hirooka is fighting, isn't he? He's fighting in Miami against Gary Antoine Russell. Is that or is that something else? Oh, no, that's something else. Oh, that's the Gervonta Davis Jake Paul undercard. Right. Alicia Baumgardner, Yocasta Valle, Ellie Scottney. Right, okay, no, I got that mixed up. I did hear that too. White fighting obesity. Oh, he was a shambles, wasn't he, White? It just goes to show an aging heavyweight can just suck the juices out of their career and constantly keep getting opportunities. Oh, yeah. What else have we got? Jaron Ennis, he's fighting tomorrow night, isn't he? I'm kind of intrigued a little bit by that opponent. So this is Ennis's first fight at super welterweight. Okay. So he'll be an interesting introduction to the mix at super welterweight, actually. And this Lima has a few good wins on the road, and he's going to be bigger. I'd be interested to see how he gets on, actually. Ennis, because he's been boiling himself down, hasn't he? I mean, he looks massive against Stanionis. That's kind of got an indication. Same against Villa. Custio Clayton, that was another one. He looked massive compared to these guys. So he's not going to be as big now, obviously, against these 154-pounders. So how does that work? And they keep teasing the Virgil Ortiz fight, which would be a great fight, but Eddie keeps saying all the time, oh, it's been signed, but nobody seems to know what he signed. So let's have a quick look here. White ain't been the same since he stopped taking his dog steroids. Exactly. So let's have a look at some of the 154-pounders and go through it together. And how do we think Ennis would fare against these guys? So BoxRec have Bakram Murtazaliev, number 1. I would say Fundora should be number 1 because he was unified champion before he dropped the WBO. Murtazaliev he's a strange one in because he was paid step aside for a long time not to fight Charlo. He looked like a beast against Tim Zhu, but styles make fights, and Zhu fought the wrong fight, didn't he? And did he amplify Murtazaliev's abilities a little bit in that fight? He hasn't fought since. He's been inactive for a year. He struggled a little bit against Kulkai, which is no shame because Kulkai is a good fighter. What I'm saying is, aside from that Zhu battering, Murtazaliev, he hasn't really looked like that beast again. So I don't know. What do we think about him against Ennis? Xander Zayas. Zayas is a good technical fighter. Virgil Ortiz would be a really good one. I would probably favour Ortiz now that he's not skinning his body. Fundora would be a good fight. Would you take Fundora against Ennis? Fundora is an absolute handful. He's freakishly tall. He can punch. He doesn't mind a scrap. He's vulnerable. Keith Thurman will write him off. Israel Madrimov against Ennis. Madrimov just always finds a way of losing a fight. He's very herky-jerky. Erickson Lubin, he's fighting Ortiz already. Jesus Ramos, he's moving up to middleweight. Forget about him. Lima. Abbas Barao, he's won the interim title against Tellez. You'd have to favour Ennis against him, wouldn't you? Brandon Adams, he beat Boachuk. Tim Zhu. Callum Walsh. Conor Ben against John Ennis. How would that go? Charles Conwell. Nikita Zhu. I thought there was more names than this, actually. Kabanov. Emily Colombo, the general. Yes, love a bit of the general. I don't know. Feels like Lubin has been going for years. He turned pro very young, didn't he? And then he had all those wins. Then he fought Charlo and got absolutely iced. At 154, Fundora's pulled out injured from the Thurman fight. Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that earlier. Well, I was talking about it. I thought Thurman would be one to pull out. Fundora pulling a blindside on us there. I hope they just get on with that if they're going to make it and have it in January and just get that out of the way so Fundora can move on. Fundora was making a lot of noises about defending his title against Zayas, and he ended up dropping it, which I don't blame him because they probably told him, didn't they? Fight the Zhu rematch, fight Thurman. It's all about making money, really, for the PBC. But if they could recreate that era of 154-pound fighters that they had a few years ago, when we saw Hurd, Charlo, Harrison, Lara, Castano, what's happened to him? Where's he gone? That Argentinian lifestyle, man. It's like Maidana, innit? He had that fight against Charlo, got stopped, and we never seen him again. Is he off smoking cigars and shooting things? Inoue fighting again before the year is up is always welcome, and especially if it's Nakatani next. Yep. Nakatani's fighting. Who's it? Reyes, is it you call him? Sebastian Reyes, I think. Would Eddie do an all-match fight? Ennis versus Madrimov, or just go for the titles? Go for the titles, I'd say. Probably would want to avoid Madrimov because he's awkward, isn't he? He's tricky. And look what Karen was awkward. He gave Ennis a few problems in that rematch, especially with his jab and his awkwardness. Thompson was in that crowd. Was he not? Who's Thompson again? Sorry, Danny, I've lost track. I've forgot to leave a trail of breadcrumbs before it went down there. Hit the like if you're enjoying this. Hit the dislike if you're not. Hit something, and not the wife. I'm not endorsing any of that. Might have got his name wrong. Yeah, I know things are moving fast here. Yeah, who was on that Ennis undercard? Supposed to be Hart, I think, wasn't it, against Khalil Coe? He's another sick note, isn't he, that Khalil Coe? He said after that Gallegos fight that he was all better again. He lied to us. Barrier against Vianello. Excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice now. Tamir Smalls, Visioli, Moses. It's not great. There's Dennis Thompson. Is that the Thompson you're thinking of? 7-0, 5 knockouts, super bantamweight. Probably not. Oh yeah, Tony Harrison. Tony Harrison was actually a really good fighter, technically. He was a big old unit too. I remember seeing him. He fought on one of the Frampton undercards in New York against Rabchenko, a Ricky Hatton fighter, just to circle it off again. Beat him. He's a big. He was lean, but he was like taller than I thought. Harrison. He was actually a really good fighter. Stealth, good fight is the rematch with Charlo. I'm not saying you'd watch it and go, "Oh, that's a good fight." You might think it was shite, but I just remember at the time, the way sometimes you get enraptured by fights and they capture your attention. I remember I was really invested in that Harrison Charlo rematch. I just thought it was a captivating fight from start to finish. There was ebbs and flows and momentum. Harrison got dropped. He came back again. He just had no gas tank. He was a very skilled fighter, but he just had no gas tank. And then Charlo caught him at the end and stopped him. And another stealth good fight from that era. Well, two actually. Jarrett Hurd against Lara was a good one. Came down to the knockdown. But also, Lara against Castagno was a good fight. That was a good fight. It ended up in a draw, I think. Just a low-level PBC fight that slipped through the radar. Yeah, he got knocked down and started Walker Charlo down very unexpected. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Was it? He got knocked down in the fourth, I think it was, and then he won the fifth on all three cards. That was a good fight. That I enjoyed. I might watch that fight again actually. Probably not put it on here. You watch now; they'll probably take down this because I was playing that fight earlier. Nobody will hear this. Probably for the best. So yeah, 47 minutes. We'll go to the hour. We'll go for the hour. This is like Wellington happy hour. If you want to throw anything else into the chat, feel free to do so. Sorry about the impromptu nature of this. As I said at the start, in case you missed it, I've been meaning to do one of these for a while, and just tonight just seemed like the perfect time. And I thought, oh no, I haven't given people enough time. And then I thought to myself, who cares? Let's just set it up anyway and just go for it and see what happens. Shout out to Rob Kelly stepping into the hosting role beautifully. The boys are doing a good job on a Sunday evening, aren't they? Keeping it going and all. I keep trying to coax Andy back in again. I am in contact with him. He's writing a book at the moment, actually. He probably won't forgive me for telling you. I don't know if it's a secret. I don't know. About a Scottish fighter who used to work down in the coal mines. And I was having a look over it with him and helping him out with a few things because I've obviously published myself in the past. And I just would love to egg him back in again. I don't think he would come on to talk about modern day fights. I think he's a bit washed. He's more interested in the football, which, being a Rangers fan, you would think he'd be staying away from the football, a bit like myself with Wolves, but he's not interested in the modern day stuff, which you can understand. Things are down, you see all across the board, even at Boxing News, the numbers are down. The crest of the wave has been ridden. Yeah, Danny's right. He's more of a historian. So that's why I'm trying to bring him back, for things like maybe punches from the past style things, maybe not as formal as that, but just to come on and riff about old fights or old fighters or meet him where he's at. And if I'd love him to just come back on so we could hear his voice again and just to talk about the old fights. Ozzy has sort of made a little fleeting talk about an interest. So I'll maybe try and coax him out the woodwork if I can for one of the evenings, if he doesn't want to come back on a Sunday. Something like that, if these carry on going forward. So it would be nice. It'd be nice to get the old guys on and all. And I listen back to the archive sometimes to pick out old clips and stuff. And you hear guys like Dave Loback, and yeah, Dave was a good laugh. He was just he didn't care. He didn't even watch half the fights, but he was good. He was good fun, wasn't he? And Donny, and oh man, some of Don. I don't know if you ever heard Donny's story about the Russian girlfriend, whenever he brought her along, he got her accreditation for a fight. And he bought her a camera and all. If you've heard that story, I'd love to find some of this shit, man. I was saying this to one of the boys the other day, actually, Rob or Andy, I think it was. Imagine all the stuff that is like out there in those old shows, like that are proper funny. Sometimes the Belly of the Weeks would pop up randomly on my feed, like episode 336 Belly of the Week or something like that, and I would just listen to it, and you just saw the stuff you've just forgotten, man. There's like thousands of hours of archives and proper funny shit, like, man. Oh dear. Yeah, that's right. Dave used to say, sorry, Steve, I didn't see that one. And then one time, I think it was the Pascal Kovalev rematch, he was chattering away about it. And I said, Dave, what are you talking about, man? He was like, oh, actually, I didn't see it. Oh, but the pod's just gone through so many different iterations, even way back before I even came on. I mean, I've been on it for like, I always think of myself as a newbie, but I've been on it for about 11 years or something ridiculous. They're like hosted like 500 episodes. And you remember the early guys like Ziggy used to come on, and Alistair, who was traveling the world, and he used to ring in, and Xanax Dave. Xanax Dave used to come on, and he sounded like he was proper wasted. And he used to ask him the most inappropriate questions. Oh man, it was funny. Like, I didn't intend for any of this. Just come on, just like come back to me, man. It's just like having a laugh, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, Dave was funny. He was. Yeah, it would be good to have them back. I suppose times move on. And originally, what I was saying, which before we ended up on this mad trail, was fair play to the boys. Like, you know, the likes of Des and Justin. And yeah, Doc Asif, Matthew Kemp, Doc Asif's heavyweight hour that in reality lasted 6 minutes. The thing was with Doc Asif, he had a real bad stutter, didn't he? And you shouldn't laugh, man. I mean, it's terrible, really. But he would say, you'd be sitting there and he'd be like, sort of glitch, go. He's like, fucking hell. Oh man, I know it sounds like I'm taking the piss, but I'm actually not meaning to, like. But then didn't Doc Asif asked, was it Golovkin? Was it Kovalev? He asked, he seen him at Las Vegas and asked him for an autograph, and Kovalev told him to fuck off. Something like that. He's raging. Doc Asif, man. And what was the girl called? Aisha, was it? Do you remember? She used to ring back in the days. Aisha. Oh man, MB. I think the Saudi involvement has disconnected a lot of us. Hardly any shows on anymore. Yeah, I'm going to try and do some post-fight pods. They're always good. I always think they're good, not just for numbers, which is obviously important for like keeping the show relevant and all, but that's when people are pumped up, aren't they? You can't beat like a straight after the show's finished and we all sort of jumped on. And I know a lot of the time it was after midnight. And I think they might be easier to do now because the shows seem to be, the main events are starting a bit earlier, which is always something we said. The show, you know, it'd be a bit easy, you know, if you're doing the post-fight pod at 11 o'clock, because some of them we were doing it like 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're knackered. I like listening to the old shows. I have a few personal favourites. Eubank Jr. versus Groves, yes. White versus Povetkin, that was a cracker. Usyk versus Bellew shows are great for obvious reasons. They were perfect, weren't they? Times, really. Didn't realise how good we had it. Like when Usyk fought Bellew or something, anything to do with Bellew was brilliant, and we would jump on the post-fight pad afterwards. The AJ ones, you remember AJ Usyk out in Saudi? And he done the flipping chat afterwards about champ. Did I do a post-fight pod for that? I think we probably did, didn't we? That was, they were funny, they were raw, they were good value, like. Yeah, one of the Bellew of the Weeks popped up on my feed the other day. It was so funny. It was the one with the Persian rugs. There was loads that week, and when Bellew was going on about cervical fluid, and the guard said that Ebony was the Ali, and there was just so many of them flowing out. That's one of my personal favourites. Declan Graffin would message me regularly, like he's a good guy, and people ask me about my favourite ones, and yeah, the Persian rugs was brilliant. Helen Mirren that I bought back the other week was another one. I thought that was really funny. And then Ricky Hatton getting insulted sexual, so it's supposed to be really inappropriate now, isn't it? How you think about it. Friggin' hell, yeah, I never even considered that. But oh man, that's the all-time great one. Obviously for Andy's reaction and all. And yeah, Devon Alexander's stretched Ennis. That was a good one too. Kurt Ward about Madeline McCann. That wasn't even a Bellew of the Week. I've never been able to find that. Something tells me it was on the Kovalev Ward podcast before the first fight, I think. Something like that. Matthew Kemp says, sat there on Sunday night like a coiled spring for the pod after AJ got sparked by Andy Ruiz and then had to wait till Monday because Eddie Hearn got a witch doctor to fuck up StreamYard. That's right. I don't think it was StreamYard. Was that? Oh, man. What happened there? Was it Google Hangouts stopped or something that weekend? It was finished. It was something like that, wasn't it? Because we got kicked off. So we got banned from the pod when around October 2018 it was, because I remember I was in Boston for James Tennis and Tevin Farmer, and we got the whole channel got banned, and it was because they'd gone the algorithm or the bots or whatever had gone way back and found some comment on an Amir Khan video from like freaking 8 years before, and they banned the pod. And we had to start doing it. Do you remember it wasn't live? We had to go back to Mixler and then I had to upload it and all. And then it was was it Google Hangouts that stopped or something for AJ? I can't remember. My first show I attended live was when I came on board to talk about a Rex So fight, as I was all on board with him as a fighter. Eddie with the Nutters Messenger group is an all-time classic. Yeah, you've obviously got Eddie coming on the pod as well. Eddie was supposed to come on again after. He was close to coming on. He was close. Tommy was getting him on. Eddie was away somewhere for a fight, and we were going to get him on. I was going to ring him on Google Hangouts. You had to like Google phone or something. I had to top it up with money, and I had to type. I was going to type in the numbers and ring Eddie, and then he like pulled out at the last minute. Says, "Oh no, I'm busy. I need to get a flight." But he was close to coming on a second time. Yes, Hangout stopped. Yeah, Mixler had the soundboard. I used to upload like the little clips and stuff, and then I would put them on, but the boys couldn't hear them. It was only me who could hear them, you see. And I'd be playing all these like crying with a little bitch and all. And Andy and all them couldn't actually hear those clips. And I don't know if anybody ever knew that. Yeah, Mixler was good. And Skype, we run it through Skype for years, and the sound quality was tough. I tell you what, things are definitely improved. StreamYard is good. Well, StreamYard's got very expensive. It was always about £170 a year, something like that. And then they got taken over by some other crowd last year. And when the renewal came in July, it had like gone up to £430. It gone up from like by 300 quid. I mean, we just paid it because you know that's what the Patreon's there for and all that type of stuff. And StreamYard is the best. It works lovely. Sound quality is great. I remember on Google Hangouts, you used to have to add like a mixing desk, and I used to pull people's sound levels up and down and all this. The major shit that went on. And when I interviewed people, what I used to do was I used to ring them on the telephone and balance the phone on top of my money box in front of the microphone, and then I'd like say to Andy or whoever, like I'd say, "Oh, talk a bit," while I ring them. I'd ring the guest and put it on loudspeaker. I'd tell the guest, right, I'm going to bring you in live in a minute. And then I would say to Andy, right, finish up. And then it would be like, come back to me. And I'd be like, oh, I'm here with so-and-so. It was like proper tin can job. Like, but it worked. It worked. You were firing off Gay Brants with the hit of a button. That's right. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, some of the stuff was hokey as hell. I remember the one time my internet was shit out here because we live on an old farm. It's like 200-year-old farmhouse. And I had Sky Internet at the time, and it was crap. And I was ringing. I kept Tom Farrell. If you remember Tom Farrell, the Liverpool guy, I was ringing him, and my internet kept going crap. And I was on the phone with him on loudspeaker, and the boys were chatting away, and they were like wondering where I was, and I was like trying to sort out my internet box, and Tom Farrell was on the other end of the line, like trying to help me, like troubleshoot what the issues were. Apart from Judy, who was your favourite ever guest? Oh, Judy, man. Oh, that's such a sad story, that is. Yeah, Judy died. Like, I'm sure everybody knows that, but Yeah, that was because I knew Judy in real life. You see, that was the thing. I would have seen her at shows because she was a ring card girl, but she was a real nice girl. She wasn't like a dumb blonde as people used to paint her as sometimes. She was nice, and we were at one show actually in the Short Social Club in Belfast, and she was the ring card girl. She'd come all the way up from Limerick, and she used to always get a photo taken of herself so she could put on her Instagram or whatever. And because she knew me, she gave me her phone and says, "Oh, can you take a photo of me for my Instagram?" And she was there standing, doing all the poses and all like with her ring card up. And then I was taking photos of her, and I turned around. There was these three guys like looking at me, like I was some kind of pervert. Oh, look at him taking photos of the ringside girl, dirty bastard. But I was going to explain. Oh no, I just didn't say anything. Like, apart from Judy, who was your favourite ever guest? Carl Thompson was a good one. Clinton Woods was a good one. I think they were good personal ones because I kind of liked them as fighters and liked their personalities. Tony Luis was funny, obviously, when Gabe asked him why he couldn't punch and he got cross. There were so many. Ozzy used to fire at the guests like Billy-O. I tell you what, looking back, because I used to work Sundays and I would often come back at from work at 6:30, and of course the pod was going live at 8:00, and I'd get the kids into bed as quickly as I could. And Ozzy sometimes had booked 3 guests, 4 guests one week. And it was like a job. I was sitting there sweating for 3 hours, ringing one person after the other after another. And I was like, bloody hell. I'm just trying to think of some of the guests. That's what I'm saying. There's that many years and that many people. It's hard to remember. We went through a phase. Do you remember when we used to get trolls? That was bloody. That was Hamed used to cause that. Hamed was a nuisance. I used to put the StreamYard link in, and Hamed used to give it out to all these YouTubers, and we used to get them ringing up. Do you remember the one guy started yelling and all? It was these oddballs. We went through a phase of that for a while. I can't even think. BM says I can't see Alan beating Mahmoudov. No, I don't think so either. Danny Young, Judy was great. She was telling us about being a ring card girl. It was about the time they were protesting to remove the ring card girls, and she was telling us what the money was going towards. Yeah, exactly. That was the thing with Judy. She was like a model and a weightlifter, but she was a nurse as well. And she was like a kind-hearted kind of person. And people didn't see that. And she came on to defend the ring card girls. Absolutely. That's right. Yeah, she had a cause. I'm trying to think of some of the guests. This is the problem. There's that many come on and gone over the time. I can't even think of them. Oh dear. We'll go for a bit longer and then I'll sack it off. It's actually been quite fun. Some of the reminiscing over the years. Who else have we had on? We had Harley Ben on at one point. I remember that. Yeah, that was a rough one because that was when I kind of thought to myself, I don't really want too many guests on because you kind of want to keep impartial and reserve the right to slag people off. It would get a bit awkward sometimes when you'd be saying someone's shit and then they'd be coming on the pod the next week. Do you remember Rachel Ball? She came on after she beat Courtney, and then she never came on again. I don't think she even fought again after that. Maybe she did. Al Siesta was good value. Yeah, Al Siesta was good value actually. He's done well for himself, Al. He's one of the head of the IBA now in Russia. He did some good shows. He was always good for a yarn, was Al. Tell me before we close up, you guys, like Danny's doing there, who are some of the more memorable guests that you can think of? Shinny Boyar, we had him on. Yeah, cashing in that lad, yeah, he is. I remember we had Serafina didn't come on in the end, actually. She went off on a mad rant. Some of those impromptu Bellew of the Weeks were class. Yeah, Don Charles was good. Coogan and Tommy. Oh, that was a good one, wasn't it? That was funny. That was funny. The Guru was funny, man, before he fell out with me. he was. Some of the shit that he done was funny. It was mad. Yeah, John Ryder was a good regular guest. John was great. He was always really good with his time. Don Charles used to come on for hours, and Don would still message me. I think I put one in the Nutters chat recently, and it was real nice from Don, like saying, "Oh, you're a friend, and I respect you guys for still going." And because that's what people forget, Everybody knows got a podcast, and it's all like accepted. And yeah, man, every man and his dog's opening a podcast. But you see, when the asylum started, it was like frowned upon almost, wasn't it? It was like sort of virgins. Yeah, the podcast, man. What's all this podcast about? And then over time, like the asylum sort of grew, and now everyone's doing it, and it's more accepted. BM could get you Aaron McKenna on if you like. He's a cousin and a dry bastard. Yeah, 100%. Give me a shout, BM. I suppose the best way would be nuthousepodcast@gmail.com. Just give me a shout, my man. Absolutely. I'll tell Matty about that. I'm sure he'd be delighted. There's a show tonight, actually, isn't there? In Dublin. On Triller. Few Irish titles on the line. There's one coming up on October the 18th in Letterkenny. Jason Quigley's promoting. I remember when Jason Quigley won the world golds and fought in the Irish seniors. And that was, 15 years ago? Just goes to show. Now he's been through he turned pro since then, been through his whole career, retired, now he's promoting. That's how far back we're going now. Thanks, BM. That'd be great. Don is great to listen to. It'd be great to hear from him after the split with Triple D. Yep. Don was. There was talk of Don coming on, I think. Matty was going to interview him. I don't know what happened with that, actually. Because they got Harvey Dykes on, didn't they? What else? I'm trying to think back in the day to some of the things. Yeah. Rob, come on. Alex Morris was always good value. Kurt just sort of fell out of love with boxing, really. Didn't we have on Fitzy after we beat Fowler? Yes, we did. Yep, Fitzy. Fitzy was a real what might have been story. He was still sort of sober and on the ball, wasn't he? When he came on with us. It's sad, like, there's always those stories in boxing and in life, I suppose, as well. Jay Byrne Dublin show is solid. 4 all Irish classes really having a big impact. Yeah, Brendan, you're absolutely right. Jay Byrne is doing well. The good fights. They're probably. There's no point in me giving predictions. They're probably all taking place now. Ryan Donovan, I expect that to be a good fight. Probably should have put it on here and watched it. I'll grab it in the morning. I'll try and sort it out on Patreon. If you know, you know. Never managed to coax Prince Patel on. No, we never managed to coax Prince Patel on, unfortunately. Nelson Heiser fighting a 16-0 Croatian now in Tirana. Wow. That's good. Didn't know that. Yeah, there's some right random shows going on around the world. There's one from Libya the other week, which is quite good, actually. Excuse me. We'll just keep going, shall we? Why not? I'm quite enjoying this. Yeah, Fitzy was a good guest. Yeah, Anthony Fowler, that was another moment. There was those moments that we kind of built up to, wasn't there? Like guys like Fowler and Bellew, they provided such a lot of value in a roundabout way. Cleverly as well now, because he's completely gone off the rails. There's those guys that you gravitate towards and sort of follow their career. Because like the prison canteen, that became a thing as well after Isaac Ekpo fought. And we kind of followed them as well. And then Saul Farah from Bolivia, and we followed those fights. And then Father Dave, that's another one they're all coming to, Father Dave as well. I'm still on Father Dave's newsletter, actually. He would send that from time to time. Dr. Joseph, well done, Tom. Yeah, Dr. Joseph. Dr. Joseph stopped replying to me. He stopped responding to my voice notes, unfortunately. Audley still wants to come on to find out what his nomination value of the week is. How is the good doctor getting on? I don't know. He's blanked me. He's had enough of me, I think. Like Porky. Fowler versus Fitz build-up was brilliant. We need more of that. Yeah, stuff like that. You can't build that up though, can you, MB? Like in Saudi, that shit has to be built up in Preston and Liverpool. Because that's the thing about the pods. Like, there's a cultural element to it as well, isn't there? I think that's why we all danced off each other so much. And that's why, to be fair to Matty, I don't blame him for not keeping the value of the week going, really, because, there's a cultural element to it. You had, like, me, Ozzy, Andy, Rob, we like, and we share that sort of similar culture and that sense of humor and the sort of references, those reference points. That's why Value of the Week works so well, I think. I love these Russian talks, these talkbook shows. Sorry, Nigeria and Russia brings me back to the Box Nation days with Kudryashov on the sofa with Steve Lillis. Yeah, Steve Lillis is a matchmaker now. I miss Joseph's lessons. Yeah. Remember when Baylor TV got trolled by a fake Joseph Gospel? Baylor come on the show. Baylor was, he used to live in, where did he live? Baylor, somewhere down south of Ireland. I think he was in Castlebar for a while, actually, teaching like cricket or something. He was. Baylor TV. I don't know what he's doing now. I remember that guy Pigeon who came on and said he wasn't into boxing and then started talking about small hall fighters. Like they were fighters in Vegas. That's right. Do you remember Pigeon? He was like, oh, yeah, I'm more of a casual, man. You know, I just sit down and watch like a bit of Montel Griffin, like a Montel Griffin career. You know, the night he fought Mike McCallum, you know, and then, yeah, that's right. He was rhyming off all. He's a freaking nuisance, that Pigeon. He used to come on the boxing. Bloody hell, what was that other show? Boxing Debate Arena, BDA. They're good, they are. I haven't listened to them for a while, but he used to go on there and drive them mad, and they used to end up kicking him off, Pigeon. He was a bad troll. He was like a troll for hire, wasn't he? He used to go around all the different shows, like trolling people. Fowler and his CBD shilling, that's right. McDonald and the Holocaust, do you remember that one? Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'd probably get flat. I don't know. Fucking who cares? He's coaching cricket in Nigeria, I think. Right? Yes. Good luck to him. Baylor. All the characters. Boxing just brings out the characters, doesn't it? Do you remember Matt? Do you remember way back in the day, Matt Bowes? Do you remember him on Twitter? He was like a peak Twitter with Brian King and him and who else was on there? Leon the Canteen and all these other characters. Colsey Slice. Twitter was like mad. It was like the Wild West back then. Ricky Gravel with the Swan videos. Do you still chat to Russ? He was funny when he come back. Not really. No. I don't really chat to Russ now. All the Boxing Coalition guys. Yep, Cam. Cam was a good guy. They were funny. They had a good lineup actually with Daniel Lim and who else was on? Can't remember the other guy's names now. But the Scottish guy. Oh, what do you call him? MV Chew was it? Leon would have messaged me back in the day. I haven't heard from Leon in years. Shep, you know what? Funny thing about Shep, right? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if it was him, Tom, or not. But there was a guy in our Patreon way back from the beginning had the same name as Shep, and he actually only cancelled his subscription there recently. And I think it was Shep. I think it was him. So he's still involved. Do you remember when he locked them all out of the boxing? What was their podcast called? MBP? Was it? What was it called? You know the one I mean, the one that Brian and all them used to run. And he locked them all out and done like his own thing. And Next Big Pod, that was it. MVP. Yeah, Next Big Pod, that's the one. Jim McDonald. He started reading the story. That's me now, though, isn't it? That's what I turned into. MV Chew, there's an old school name. That's right, MV Chew. Yeah, he was funny. He was, man. He used to come off the most random shit. MV Chew. Oh, it was good. The pod stood the test of time, really, didn't it? Like the Asylum. All them other ones have come and gone over the years. Some great characters. Like only boxing could spew up these weirdos, myself included. Only in boxing could we like have a voice. Oh dear, yeah, that's right. He had a podcast afterwards, Shep, called On Queer Street, with Tom Craze. Wonder what happened to him. Yeah, he was another one. Oh, I'll tell you what. That was one that I done in Value of the Week the other day that come to mind now, and it didn't play for some reason. I don't know why, but it was like some guy on Reddit who'd ripped off the Tony Mediocre joke. and it was doing the rounds on the podcast. That was what that Value of the Week was supposed to be. And there apparently got loads of upvotes on Reddit, and everyone was going on about how brilliant it was, even though it was like some random off the cuff remark that like popped into my head one evening. And they say they don't listen. What was the other pod that used to cover the small hall shows? Was that? Are you talking, Danny, about Terry's original podcast? Is that it? New Boxing? No, Boxing. Friggin' hell, I can't remember anything, man. My mind's shot to shit. Boxing Age. Oh, what was that one that Terry used to do with Martin and Martin Theobald? New Age Boxing? New Age, was it New Age Boxing? Yeah, I used to enjoy that. That was good. New Age, yeah, New Age Boxing. That's it. New Age Boxing. That was good. That was a good podcast. I enjoyed that one. It was fun. Yeah, that's another one that's gone by the wayside. Trying to think if there's any more. Ultra Tech. I don't know if anybody's ever listens to him. That's one I've never listened to be honest, and for no reason. I don't know why. Because fair play to them. I wouldn't be like rivalry. I would say fair play to those guys and like support them and stuff. Like when Tommy done his lockdown boxing, I used to put it on the feed because fair play to people doing it, man. You know, it takes a lot. Yeah, Goodwin shows. That's right. Yeah, it was Goodwin. It was Steve Goodwin. That's right. There was a lad on that was good and got into live comms, I think. Yeah, I think that was Martin who ended up doing the live comms. Yeah. Do you remember the Claymaker? he's another one, isn't he? Oh man. I don't think I ever met him in real life. Don't think I ever met him. I'm trying to think. I met Smido. Paul Webb, they came to Manchester. That was a peak one for Quickframpton. Andy was there. Tommy was obviously there. Cougs. All them boys. Michael McElway. Fergs. Paul Ferguson. Oh man, some crack like. I wonder what he's up to now, the Claymaker. Still looking over his shoulder. Oh, it was bad, wasn't it, that? You wonder how people sort of get into those things, and I suppose a bit in a way, like, do you remember that other guy, the American, who like, didn't he pretend he had like cancer or something? Do you remember he did like a betting podcast? He's another one. Steve, who's on Boxing Asylum, Mount Rushmore. We're talking like panel members. Andy's got to be there, hasn't he? What's Steve Bunce like in person at shows? Buncey, you know what? To be fair to Buncey, I have to give him his due because I remember when I used to write my books, Buncey had me on his Radio London show and all, and he wrote like the foreword, like a wee blurb thing for my future books. I can't really fault Buncey. At shows, he's much like to be fair to Buncey, he's a lot like you see. He's a lot like you see on the telly. He's just the same. He's not fake like it. That's the way he acts in real life. Would be great to go to a fight one day and meet up. It would be, wouldn't it? I always thought that we could do like some kind of meet up or something. I always envisioned us like sitting with microphones or something and talking shit. I know that's probably a bit of a highfalutin idea, and the organising would be insane. But at one point, I remember when Tyan Booth was on the scene, it was kind of mentioned in passing that something might come to pass, but it never did. It'd be a hell of a bollocks to flipping pull something off like that. Yeah, Buncey's a legend, isn't he, man? With the Satanta stuff and Jade and all that. That is just, and the Black Britons, two brothers, yeah, exactly. Met some solid lads from the pod, Andy, Smido, Tom. Yeah, Tommy and his old man. Tommy and his old man used to come over here all the time. Like a couple of times I remember picking them up from the airport and taking them into Belfast and having breakfast and all. And that's why the whole thing just got completely weird, like. But anyway, we'll park that there. Quickframpton was good. Everyone from the pod was there. Yeah, it would be nice to do something like that, Danny. It honestly would. Like, I know. I don't know. Maybe the time passed us by now. I don't know. Yeah, fair play to the guys like Rob and that. He's proper stuck with it, hasn't he? Like, he's proper stuck with it. Over the years. I'm trying to think of the other characters that have come and gone over the time. Yeah, Bunsey's definitely on the Mount Rushmore, Tom. And Donny, you got to put Donny on. So, one of the lads actually at Boxing News the other day. I don't know if I should be telling this or not, but tell it anyway. He was saying that he was trying to do some research and investigative piece into some judge or something. You know where this is going. Some judge who's been like doling out dodgy scores for years. And then I says, "Oh, who is it?" And he was like, "Oh, Don Trella." Oh man, I was like, "Oh, oh, right." So I don't know what came of that. Yeah, Donny's good crack, man. He is funny too. Who else did we have? Some characters come and go, because there was one guy, and he used to come on. I think he was a Scouser, and he used to. He was always mad for the dodgy links. You know, back in the day, he used to have to try and get the dodgy links and all, and he would come and pimp them. And he was sound with us, and then for some reason he went mad and started like mad trolling, like in the chat. There was some right weirdos followed here. I can't remember. There was one guy called Josh or something, and he used to come on the pod from time to time. I think his name was Josh. I'm going way back 10 years now. And he used to come on the pod, and he was sound, and then all of a sudden he started like putting this proper mad shit on Twitter to me, and I didn't care. Like, I mean, whatever. And then he was like proper like abusive and like DMing me and all and that. And I DM'd him back and says, "What's the crack, man? I've met you in real life. Like, we were fine." He's like, "Oh, it's only a bit of banter." It's like, right, what the fuck? Okay, no, it's just some absolute madheads, man. Donald, Aussie, yeah, Aussie's on Mount Rushmore. Absolute disgrace. A boxing judge who works in a casino. What could go wrong? Didn't we have Donny's missus and mom or something on the pod? Cindy Lowback, that was. Cindy Lowback. That's right. Andy had her on the pod and he was asking about who would win out of Mayweather and Pacquiao. I've got that clip somewhere. I'll try and fish that out for Value of the Week. And one time, I don't know if you remember this one. I'm sure Andy would cringe now because he was proper feisty, wasn't he, back in the day, but he mellowed over time. Do you remember one time Dave Lowback used to come on? Dave would always come on like with when he was like in the car with people. He didn't care, or he was like walking around with like family members and stuff. Sorry for saying like so much. And one time he had his granny with him. And Andy was like, "Put her on the phone, put her on the phone." And he was like, no, she's not coming on the phone. And he was like, he puts the old cunt down the stairs. Oh man, you'd love to find the clips. Like, you never find them. I wonder if there's some kind of freaking chat beat. What does it call it? Chat GPT or something that would find all these old clips, man. I'm sure some of the shit you would cringe. Because I know the algorithm looks unkindly on some of the stuff. Oh yeah, exactly. That way the granny understood a word Andy said. Nah, I think Dave said she was deaf, like, but it was just the pure, the way he would just come off with the stuff. But yeah, the intro. I know the intro does cause problems. Like, it does get us like shadow banned and stuff. Someone was looking into it, and yeah, some of the stuff. What I say really, but I'd never cut it out. What happened the time DiBella threatened the pod? That's right. No, you're right. That's right. DiBella came on the pod and said some stuff which was perfectly like above board stuff about fights, and somebody listened to the pod, some journalist, and wrote a story about it, and then DiBella went mad and was ringing up Donny and all, going like, "Pull the fucking pod," and all this type of stuff. Take that down. I'm like, what you do? You know, you said it on an open forum on a live podcast. What are you talking about? You need to do a podcast from the past and just release an old pod. Yeah. the first one's lingering about out there. I think you can get every pod. It's something like the first, say, 10 or 15, and then like a few are missing, something like that, like say 15 to 30, something like that are missing, and then everything else is there. I think you can get hold of pretty much everything, because Kurt used to put them on Tumblr, and that's where I used to get them from to cut the clips. And you can hear, I'm pretty sure you can hear the first one. Matty hosted it. Hater Dave was on it. Kurt was on it. Tom and Andy were on it. I think Donnie was on it too. Yeah. Smido's still lurking about out there. He's done well for himself. Smido. I don't think he watches boxing anymore. Well, we'll go till 1 hour 30, and then I'll wrap it up. I wasn't expecting this, but it's been a good laugh actually, going back down memory lane. So yeah, who else are we putting on our Mount Rushmore? Got to be Bunsey. Bellew. You got to put Bellew on, haven't you? Bellew's got to be there. You got to look at the people who've given us so much value, like Bellew doing that thing, the whole CU boxing asylum. Like that was the type of shit we lived for, man. Like it was just creating content. And then same with Eddie with the Boxing Nutters Messenger group, just referencing us. No other sport could, like, such trolls or whatever get to these people and affect them so much. The Good Doctor, yeah, you got to put him up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on Tumblr, Danny. Let me just check. Yeah, Boxing Asylum podcast. Just type in Boxing Asylum Tumblr and you'll see it. Boxing Asylum's the nut house. There it is now. I don't know if I can put links in the chat. I should be able to, shouldn't I? I'm like the boss really around here at the moment. Smido sending Bellew videos of him punching his feedback. The live you done with him in the middle of the day was unreal. Yeah. Eddie came on the pod once. Andy grilled him about. Yeah, I was saying that MB earlier actually. I think before you came in, Eddie was supposed to come on a second time. Actually, he was close to coming on a second time when he was waiting for a plane, but he didn't come on in the end. I wasn't on that one with Eddie. I think that's it there, Danny. So it goes 3-3-3. Oh, it stops at. You can have a look for yourself. I'll not bore you. Yeah, and then there was that guy who done the Kell Brook impression who come on, Sean Bigby. He kept saying he would come on again, but he never did. He was funny. I'm sure there's loads I've forgotten. I'm sure there's loads. Oh, Chukwu, man. How could you forget Chukwu? He's funny. You always felt like you were giving Chukwu a home, like on a Sunday evening, like something to keep him like out of trouble. We were like a soup kitchen, like a light in the night, attracting people. Yeah, Chukwu, he was good. Yeah, so Bellew's got to be on the Mount Rushmore because he's given so much great value. Like, Bean. I suppose that was really more Porky's thing, wasn't it, Bean? Although I did come up with the Bean Masons. Yeah, that was Doc Asif, Tom, stuttering fellow who loved the heavyweights. That was Doc Asif. Who was it that came on and gave us all a great breakdown of why Tefrez never got a title shot? That was Tom Satas. He was a friend of Frez at the time. Yeah, I think they've fallen out now. He was trying to get Frez a title shot, that's right. Andy always laughs about that. I wasn't meaning to be rude with him, but I was trying to, like, ask him genuinely, like, sell us why Frez deserves a world title shot. To be honest with you, funny as it sounds, Frez probably did, by the letter of the law, deserve a title shot under the rules of the WBA. They're so crooked. Yeah, George, remember Sebastian as well? He was bonkers. Yeah, no, Tom Satas was good. Bryn used to come on as well. He was good. Bryn Jonathan Butler, and used to talk about all the Cuban stuff, and he was in camp with Roy Jones and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot of water going over the bridge, hasn't there? Really, if you think about it, over time, a lot of good Bellew of the Week entries. Some of the Bellew of the Weeks were class, like they were funny. Yeah, Bryn was good. think that's it. I'm sure I will think of more. If you're listening to this after the fact, put them in the comments, put them in YouTube, all the sort of funny memories. 500 was a great episode for all the people who came back. That's right. Edward Donovan, Paul Ryan's about. Oh, right, okay. Is that the main event, Brendan? Surely it must be at this time of night, isn't it? You would imagine so. Yeah, I think that will do. I feel like there's something tinkering around in my mind that I want to say, but can't think what. Yeah, main event coming up there now. Super. That's been good. Thanks, lads. That was good. That was good fun. Like I say, just completely impromptu. I wasn't expecting where we ended up, but I have been intending to do these for a while, and I'll hopefully do another one again soon. And just a bit of fun, like everybody's sitting around. Cheers, Dana. Yep, same to you, my man. Good to see you, boys. Hit the like on the way out if you can. Just helps things out a little bit. And yeah, I'll try and do one of these again. Just go down memory lane and see where we end up. Thanks for subscribing. Keep supporting the boys. Catch you all again. Cheers, lads. Bye.